What's up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages? We started a little bit early today. It's actually going to start a little earlier, moved it up, but we're ready. We're here. I'm ready to talk about football. I'm ready to talk about Victory Sunday. I get it. It's a preseason game. Everybody's like, oh, you can't be too hyped about preseason. I don't care if it's preseason, regular season, postseason. It's football season, and I'm hyped up when the Niners win. It's no different today than any other day. I'm excited. It was a good game. I was happy. I was at the game, so it was cool to enjoy seeing them come from behind and leave Levi Stadium with the dub. So I don't know about you, but I am thrilled football season is back, and it's nice to see a win. Doesn't matter if it's preseason to me. It's just great to see the squad back on the field. Okay, that's my take on it. But how's everybody doing? Happy Sunday. What is going on? What's good? What is good? Jimmy Perez, Terrence S. Flood. Oh man, my boy Flood says crazy weather here in the OC. Yeah, it's crazy out there in Southern California. So all my people out there in Southern California, hope everything's okay. Stay safe. I heard it's crazy out there. So shout out to the faithful out in Southern California. Hopefully it's all good. Freshly back from Levi said, "Hey Peter Parker, I hope you enjoyed that game. You got a dub, man. You should go to all the games because the Niners won last night. Was it pretty? No, but that's why you don't leave the games. Sometimes it's a comeback victory, and it was nice to see. Again, the preseason's a time for players that need to develop, for youngsters to make their moments, to put some film out there, and for these younger players to make mistakes and get their seasoning on them. Like we talked about last night, Trey Lance needs to marinate. All these young players need to marinate. They need to go showcase their talents. Eventually, some of these players will be starters one day, but you have to start somewhere. You start from the bottom, right? And eventually you'll get to here. And yesterday was preseason game 2. We got one more on Friday, and it's going to be the dress rehearsal. The starters are playing, so that'll be fun to see. I don't know how long they'll play, but typically a couple series. That's about it. Just gotta make sure they get out of there without any injuries. That's it, and make sure they're ready for week 1. They're knocking some rust off a little bit. We can kind of fine tune some things here before it all counts. But last night, Trey Lance, he came in late in the third quarter. Started a little slow, started a little rusty, and the Trey Lance haters were out in full effect. But he slowed down, or the game slowed down for him. And once he kind of found his rhythm, we talked about it last night, he started to cook, man. He was making some tight window throws. I mean, even some of the throws that he didn't complete were actually dimes, but they were just drop passes, Like there was a couple plays where I was like, ooh, oh my God, the receiver has to come down with it. But overall, I feel like we talked about last night and earlier today. Trey Lance, he showed me growth. I was really happy. I was impressed with how he was able to battle back because he did start slow, and I'm sure mentally he was seeing, all the nonsense on Twitter. He was probably thinking ahead, like, oh, man, if I don't finish this game strong, it's going to be bad for me. And I remember sitting there at the game going, whatever happens in this game, whether we win, lose, or draw, the Niners have to, the Niners have to win this game. They have to win this game. Well, not win this game, but Trey Lance had to come back and play well. So I saw, I was a little thrown off. Adam Schefter um, just tweeted out something. Thought it was something else, but yeah, Drake Greenlaw, Drake Jackson, Javon Kinlaw, George Kittle, Elijah Mitchell all returned this week to practice. Great stuff. Good news. Great to hear. Um, yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute. So yeah, a nice little news update from Adam Schefter. I think this was reported earlier by Matt Barrows and stuff. The 49ers have Drake Greenlaw, Drake Jackson, Javon Kinlaw, George Kittle, and Elijah Mitchell all returning to practice this week. So we'll talk about that later in the week. But yeah, Trey Lance, Sam Darnold. Do we want to talk about Trey Lance, Sam Darnold? Sam Darnold, I don't think he looked great last night. He did salvage his performance with the touchdown at the end, the Jack Coletto touchdown. I think he needed that. But I think Trey Lance needed that comeback more than anything. I think Trey Lance had to finish strong, and he did. He came out and he finished absolutely, the way he needed to. He led the scoring drives. He led a game-winning drive. I don't think that was like Trey Lance's. Trey Lance hasn't had many opportunities to do a game-winning drive, and I think that was the first time he's had a game-winning drive since like high school. Someone tweeted out. I think Eric Crocker tweeted that out. This is the first time since high school that Trey Lance has had a game-winning drive. So good for him, man. I think he separated himself. I feel that he did. But I don't know about you guys. I feel that Trey Lance absolutely separated himself from Sam Darnold last night. But again, still one more preseason game, and we'll see what happens in this one. I think Kyle really wanted to see what he had in Sam Darnold, and he is Sam Darnold. He showed us what he was. He showed us he's Sam Darnold, basically backup quarterback. So that's what it was. But yeah, Trey Lance again salvaged the game. He started slow and he really finished strong. Again, he's a rhythm type guy. He needs to build that rhythm, and that's exactly what he did last night. He found his rhythm. And once he got in the rhythm, he was in his bag last night. It was good to see. Now the other thing about it is the 49ers not only had Trey Lance kind of salvage himself, but a lot of other players did. And it was a nice game to see youngsters stepping up for this team because we still have roster questions. Who's going to make this final 53-man roster? We got one more preseason game, and all our questions will probably be answered after that very shortly. So we got a big game coming up for these younger players and the players on the bubble. Trey Lance, again, he probably put himself in the driver's seat for QB2 after last night. The fans rallied around him. Last night when Trey Lance came into that game, the fans went crazy. Like, he got a standing ovation. It was electric in there. It was like, wow, people were waiting because Sam didn't really do anything for the fan. They were like, oh, come on, man. Sam had these fans falling asleep. He had them absolutely falling asleep. It was like watching paint dry with Sam out there. When Trey stepped on the field, it was an electric atmosphere. That's what we want. The fans want to see this guy get a chance. They want to see what he's all about. They want to see why they traded all the draft picks for Trey Lance. And it was nice to see him finish that game strong. Now my big question is, how is the narrative going to switch? How's the narrative going to switch? How's it going to switch? That's what I need to know. How is the narrative going to switch? Because last week it was Mike Lombardi, Dan Orlovsky, all these people last week. He's not ready for it. They trashed him. What are they going to say this week? I can't wait to see the media switch up. You think that we haven't kept receipts? We absolutely have kept receipts. Trey played good. Now I know a lot of people are going to say, well, he played against third stringers. Well, yeah, obviously, and he also had third stringers blocking him. In order to play with the first teamers, you have to show that you could do it with the backups. If he can't play against the third stringers, there's no need to even put him again the starting lineup and play with the starters. So he has to be able to go out there and cook against the third stringers. I would hope and pray that he could go out there and play well against the third stringers. He was a number 3 pick in the draft. So for Trey, that was huge. I get it. He did play against backups, whatever everybody's going to say, though. Oh, he played against backups. Backups were blocking him. And in order to be a starter, you have to show that you could do it somewhere before you even get moved up. So to me, that was a good start for Trey Lance. Lawrence says the narrative ain't going to switch. They're just waiting for Trey to fail again. They are. You're right. Once he does, you're going to see, I told you so. But this week, I can't wait to hear what these people have to say. What are their excuses going to be? What are their excuses going to be? Well, they played against third stringers. That's what it's going to say. That's what they're going to say. And we'll see. 49ers throwback says special teams was awful. I agree. Absolutely atrocious. Mitch Wishnowski was shanking kicks. He was a 4th-round kicker. Jake Moody, we've seen him. He's had some struggles early on. A lot of pressure on him. 3rd-round kicker. That's what people are going to remember Jake Moody for right now, that he's a 3rd-round kicker. They don't care if you got a leg or whatever. They're going to remember that he's a 3rd-round kicker. That's what he needs to get that pressure out of his mind. The return game was not good. Deshaun Jameson, put the ball on the ground. Tough. It was tough for him. That's why I can't wait for Ray McCloud to come back. We absolutely need Ray McCloud. Guy's vital to this team. But, somebody's got to hold it down until he gets back. So being a return guy is not easy. Danny Gray got hurt on his return attempt. Apparently he had a SC joint sprain. So he didn't fracture his collarbone. Thank God he didn't fracture his collarbone. SC joint, still going to be, out for a couple of weeks. That's about a 4 to 6 week injury, depending on how severe that sprain was. But probably about a 4 to 6 week injury time frame for Danny Gray. They're still determining the exact severity, but just off the top of my head, it's going to be about 4 to 6 weeks for SC joint sprain recovery. But the good news for Danny Gray, if there's any good news out of an injury, is that Ronnie Bell is charging up the rankings. That Ronnie Bell is sizzling. That Ronnie Bell stock is rising. Stock is rising for Ronnie Bell. This is the guy, listen, Ronnie Bell is the guy that I think Kyle Shanahan wanted Dante Pettis to be. He wanted Trent Taylor to be. He wanted Marquise Goodwin to be a slot receiver. Kyle has been looking for a slot receiver since he came to the 49ers, and he just hasn't been able to find it. Trent Taylor had it a little bit, just couldn't stay healthy. Dante Pettis, he didn't have that dog in him. He had that cat in him. And Marquise Goodwin, also injuries, couldn't stay on the field. This is Ronnie Bell. He's got the routes. He's got the grittiness, the toughness. This guy is what you want out of a slot receiver. I think he's the guy that Kyle Shanahan finally found for his slot receiver. This is the guy. He's Deebo light, Deebo 2.0. Deebo runs with authority. Deebo runs with aggression, and he's mentoring him. The interview last night, Ronnie Bell said, hey, look, he's like my big brother. He's taking me under his wing. If you got Deebo Samuel teaching you how to be a wide receiver in Kyle Shanahan's system, it's not even fair. It's not even fair. You're going to have two dogs. You're going to have two bulldogs. You kidding me? Two Deebos? I love it. Love it. Robbie says, do I think Trey Lance is going to get any chance with the ones next week? Absolutely not. I think it's going to be Brock Purdy in the ones. They come out for 2 series, maybe 3, then they sit him down. You got to ice him. You got to let him rest. You can't let him get hurt. Sati says, Ronnie Bell will take over wide receiver 3 role from JJ by the end of the year. Love Juwan. Ronnie has so much more upside. Yeah, and I think that's why Kyle got Ronnie Bell. I think he is going to be the replacement for Juwan Jennings. And that's not a bad thing for Jennings. I love Jennings. But he'll probably leave and get paid a lot of money next year. As he should. As he should. If he sticks around, I'll be happy. But if he doesn't, I'll be happy because we got Ronnie Bell. And he's the next guy to take over that spot. 7th round pick. Juwan Jennings was a 7th round pick. And Ronnie Bell, 7th round pick. It's amazing how they find these stars. Find these stars. At the end of the draft. I can't believe nobody drafted Ronnie Bell. This guy was fun last night. He was fun. I think he locked himself onto this roster. I think he is solidified his spot after last night. Clean up the mistakes. He'll be fine. And I get it. He's made a couple of drops here and there. He's a rookie. I think he'll clean it up. But this guy is everything Kyle has wanted in a slot. He's everything that Kyle wished Dante Pettis would have been. Yeah, use him super wisely. I agree. He's a special little weapon. They'll bring him in there every once in a while. They're not going to overuse him, but I like him. Edgar says, defense positioning still confusing and naivety in several. Yeah, defense positioning has been bad. I'm going to say this. I might get flamed for it. I don't like Steve Wilkes right now in terms of his overall defensive scheme. They're still learning. They're still figuring it out. I think his blitzes have been a little bit too aggressive at times. I mean, and players are out of position. Ambry Thomas got cooked last night. I don't even think it was 100% his fault. He got burned on the route, but just wasn't in good position. Thank God for Jair Brown being there to save the touchdown, playing with heart. But sometimes I think that these corners are out of position, and I don't know about Steve Wilkes. Again, he has an amazing defense, right? But it's not his defense. He took over the defense from D'Amico Ryans, who deserved to go and be a head coach, But just because you have a good defense doesn't mean you're going to be a good coach. And I'm not saying that Wilkes is going to be a bad coach. I'm not saying that he's going to have a horrible season. I'm not going to say this defense is not going to be tough and probably the best in the league. But he's got to prove himself. Last year, the 49ers were the number 1 defense in the league. They're not the number 1 defense in the league yet this year. Not by a long shot. We have to prove that. Again, yes, we have great players on this team. We do. We have Fred Warner, and they're going to be, and Ward and Greenlaw and Bosa, all that, blah, blah, blah. We know who we have on this team. But at the same time, you have to make them. What are we going to do to make them better? Like, you can just throw these great players out. You can throw Fred Warner out there. You're going to throw Javon Kinlaw, or not Hargrave. You're going to throw Arik Armstead out there. You're going to throw these guys out there, and they're going to be great because they're great players. But what are you going to do to make them better? How are you going to elevate them? That's what I want to see out of Steve Wilkes. Can he make this team better than they were last year? Because whatever they were last year wasn't good enough to make it to the Super Bowl. That's my point. They weren't. I mean, I know the quarterback had a situation played a part into that, but what can you do to make this defense even better than they were last year? I don't know. And Isaiah Oliver, his hand-picked cornerback, slot corner, This guy brought him in. Steve Wilkes brought him in. That was his free agent signing. He can't cover a pothole. Can't. Couldn't cover a pothole. This guy has had trouble covering. Thank God for Sam Womack. And thank God for the rise of Ambry Thomas. Although, again, he had a mediocre game last night. But he's been better. Sam Womack needs to start. You put Lenore, Womack, and Mooney Ward out there. Because Isaiah Oliver ain't it. He's not. Sati says, Steve Wilkes has to know the weakest point of our D is our secondary. Play to your strengths. If you blitz, you will put them in a bad position and will get torched down the field. Absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. If you put your weakest position at a more vulnerable state, you're going to get eaten alive. 100% Sati. That is it. I agree. Good comment. I appreciate that comment. Good stuff. Isaiah Oliver, terrible according to 49ers throwback. I mean, I don't disagree. Womack looked fantastic. He did last night. And you know what, throwback? We're going to pin this because last 2 weeks, actually last 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks, I've been taking a dump all over Cameron Latu, and he stepped up. So I'm telling you, the bullying is working. So maybe if we bully Isaiah Oliver enough, he's going to step up next week, and he's going to look like Deion Sanders. Maybe. We'll see. He just can't tackle. I was looking through some stats over the last 3 years. Isaiah Oliver's tackle percentage rate has decreased. Like it's just dwindled poorly. He needs to figure out how to tackle. It's preseason. I know it's still early. We got to figure this out. In the playoffs, we can't be having that kind of play. They spent a lot of money on him. 2.something million, 2.5 million on a guy. If you cut him, you're still going to take a hit. You don't save much. You still take a $1.4 million cap hit. That's what we do. Yep, that's my. If I'm Steve Wilkes, this is what I do. But we'll see what Wilkes says. I don't know. I just don't. I don't know. Maybe I'm just missing the energy on the sideline from like Robert Salah and D'Amico Ryans. I think I missed that because I feel like yes, we have great players on the defense. 100%. This team has amazing players on defense. Like we can't deny that. We all know that. But sometimes the players get tired. Sometimes they need to be, pushed a little bit. You got to inject some energy in them. D'Amico would inject that energy into him. He was right there on the sidelines with them. Robert Salah, he was right there on the sidelines with them, and they would just push him to get better. D'Amico just brought whatever he could out of Fred Warner. Like, you could tell in their eyes, they were always, locked in. And even Salah, he would just do that to some of these defensive linemen. I don't know. Steve Wilkes is going to be up in the clouds, hanging out on the press box, calling in the plays. Diddly, 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 diddly. Oh, call this play. It's not going to juice him up. I don't know. We'll see. Robbie says, is Womack good enough to start opposite award? That's the question. That's why I think our biggest concern on defense. Although I think we have a lot of young guys, a lot of depth, and I'm happy about this because we haven't had depth like that in a while. But are they going to be able to cover players like Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson? We're playing receivers like that, DK Metcalf, although Mooney Ward owns him. But we're playing some freak nasty receivers, okay? Is Sam Womack going to be able to handle Jamar Chase, guys like that, CeeDee Lamb, big-time receivers? I don't know. It's a good question. Absolutely good question. Diamond Lenore? I don't want to keep moving him around right now. Like, he was building himself at that outside corner. Now we might have to throw him in the slot and kind of play musical corners. We'll see how it goes. Flood, this is the key, though. This right here is the key. You got to get the pass rush to get the pressure. And, the pass rush starts with Nicholas John Bosa, with Nick Bosa. Once Nick Bosa comes back, I think the defense will be okay. The secondary will be better because they'll have pressure up front, and it'll take pressure off the back end. But we got to wait for Bosa to come back. We'll see. The Niners did a camp sizzle, and it showed Wilkes coaching Ambry on getting a PBU. Game happens, and Ambry gets PBU. Yeah, no, Jedi, I agree. I think Wilkes is all in on Ambry Thomas. Everything I've read, everything you've seen from that's coming out of Steve Wilkes' mouth, he loves Ambry Thomas. You're absolutely spot on with that. I've read a lot of articles over the last couple of weeks, and it's Ambry Thomas Ambry Thomas, he's doing good. We love him. We love how he's improving. Blah blah blah. Steve Wilks is pro Ambry. So if he starts, I would not be surprised, Jedi. I think that's a true statement, and I think that Ambry might be the leader in Steve Wilks' mind. So we'll see. Sacktown, Ayuk was really happy for Lance. You gotta love it. You could just see how happy he was for his boy Trey. You know they're boys. Those guys are made s'mores together last year. You know that's the connection. And Trey was just dotting it up once he kind of got his his nerves down, and he was calm and cool. He was in his bag, right? Like we say. And Ayuk, you gotta love this moment. He ran on the field, hyped out of his mind when Trey throws that touchdown to Latu. And he got penalized and all that stuff. But today when he posted on his IG, he's like, "Yeah, I'm just hyped for Trey Latu." You gotta love it, man. You gotta love it. Yeah, he called him a milk dud last year, right? So his little milk dud got the tutty. You gotta love it. Like that just shows you how much the camaraderie is, the brotherhood. That's why you gotta love this team, man. They're brothers, and it was cool to see Ayuk just be genuinely happy. He was genuinely happy for Trey Lance. It's cool, man. That was good. It's good to see. It was good to see. Shot Show says Isaiah Oliver was the best slot cornerback free agent according to Wilks. Really hope we can see that because we haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen that. If he was the best, I don't want to know what the worst was. If he was the best, I don't want to see what the worst was. Unless Steve Wilks had beer goggles on when he was watching film. Maybe Steve Wilks had beer goggles on when he was watching film. He was sitting there one day, just came out of a rager, just blitzed out of his mind, and just hammered. And he throws on the film. Who's this guy? We're gonna sign him. Maybe that's what he said. I don't know. Because you're right. I haven't seen it. I have not seen it. We'll see. He's the best. I want to know who the worst was. Not looking too hot. Sati. Let's get to this, too. This is a good comment. Brock looked really good last night. They were playing against the Broncos' first team D, which is a top 7 to 8 unit. You know, that's a good point. They got some good defensive linemen. Patrick Surtain's one of the best corners in the league. Got a good defensive team. And 49ers marched down and scored a field goal. I wish they would have scored a touchdown. I wish they would have got a touchdown on that first drive. But, Brock Purdy, shout out to Brock Purdy. He hadn't played football since the NFC Championship game. He marched that team down the field. Now, granted, Deebo Samuel did some of that work, but that's the offense. You get the ball to the playmakers. And Brock Purdy showed some escapability out of the pocket. I mean, magical. I'm not going to lie to you. The first time he ran out of the pocket and he took a hit, I was like, oh, shit, is he getting up? And he did. And then the time he got sacked, I was like, is he okay? He got up, and I was like, all right, my boy. But, yeah, it was nice to see Brock look like he's picked up where he left off. Like he just didn't look like he, showed too much ill effects from the injury. He was coming out crisp, very efficient. So I was happy for Brock Purdy, just like I was happy with Trey Lance. I was happy for both of them. I was happy for Brock coming back from injury. It was nice to see him healthy, happy, dealing. He was dealing. Dimes, guys. Just throwing dimes. And it was great to see Trey Lance. Once he kind of settled in, he's dimes. Just throwing dimes, guys. It was nice. Dude was just on brick by brick, and he's out here playing like ass. Oliver got the dirt on Wilks. He might. He got some, dirty photos of Steve Wilks, and he's going to blackmail him. He says, look, Steve. He slides him the phone, Look at these photos I got. Yeah. You cut me. If you don't make me the starter, guess who's leaking these? Maybe Oliver does have some blackmail. Some. I hope not. You never know. You never know what these guys have. Maybe they got blackmail. They blackmail these guys. Shout out to Jair Brown, man. This guy's he saved a touchdown. If Jair Brown doesn't save that touchdown before half, the Niners don't win that game. Played with some heart, hustle. Ambry, like I talked about last night, Ambry gets cooked on the play. Route was great. Jair Brown, about 8 yards off the ball, he's just flying down the field and saved the tackle. So shout out to Jair Brown. He pretty much saved that game, kept it in line. I mean, they don't win that game if Jair doesn't chase down the Broncos receiver. So love to see it. Sati says they would have got a touchdown on the opening drive. TDP didn't completely whiff on his block. So I'll tell you this, man. I agree. TDP, as good as he showed himself in training camp, as good as he was, showing his running abilities, his pass blocking ability, his pass protection was not good. It's not been good these 2 games. And I feel like that is where his liability is. And if you can't pass protect, if you can't blitz protect as a running back, you don't have any existence on Kyle Shanahan's team. And I feel like this is the same thing that happened with Trey Sermon. His blitz pickup was absolutely bad, and also he just looks sluggish. So TDP, as much as he came out this training camp and just soared his value, it's coming down because that blitz pickup recognition is very, very poor. Very poor. It's unfortunate. Yeah. No block, no rock. Absolutely right, Peter Parker. Like, that is an issue that needs to be addressed. In TDP, if you can't block, Jordan Mason's going to take your spot. Elijah Mitchell, if he's healthy, I mean, you're not taking over his spot. So it's tough for TDP. He's on the outside looking in because his pass protection skills have been non-existent. Because you're absolutely right. They would have scored a touchdown if he didn't whiff on that pass protection. I agree. Everybody wants Robbie Gould back. Should we talk about Jake Moody? Mr. Pressure. The pressure is getting to Jake Moody. The pressure is getting to this man. It's tough. Like, he made that game-winning field goal, and I was happy for him. He needed that. He needed that game-winning field goal. Absolutely needed it. But it's preseason, and he's already going through the mental jitters. I mean, it's good to get it out of his mind, get it out of his system, and I think he'll get better from it. And I don't think these 2 games define him. Absolutely don't. But, I mean, it's preseason, and he's having mental breakdowns. So it's tough. He did need that game-winning kick, but he almost missed it. If he would have been 5 yards back, he probably misses that. That's tough. I'm not going to lie to you. Every time he was up there taking kicks, I was stressed. It's unfortunate because he has so much pressure on his shoulders because of the 3rd-round pick. And he, you know how the media is out in the Bay. You know how the social media is. You know how the content creators is and the fans are. The fans are tough. And if you aren't looking like you're going to be able to do what you got to do, they're going to call you out. I mean, look at through the last couple of years. I mean, people calling out Dante Pettis, Javon Kinlaw, Jalen Hurts. The list goes on and on. If you don't prove yourself and live up to your draft expectations, you're getting your ass cooked and roasted on the timeline. And it's tough for a young player, Mike McGlinchey, the list goes on and on. Jake Moody doesn't want to become another, statistic. He doesn't want to be the next guy that gets trounced on. But at the same time, he's going to have to deal with the pressure. The pressure in the game is probably just as hard as the pressure from the fans. But, hey, it comes with the territory. Just like Kyle said with Trey Lance, it comes with the territory. 3rd-round kicker. Now, did he choose to be a 3rd-round kicker? No. But he is. So, it's going to be tough on the kid. And everybody, every day, every week, we're going to sit here and you're going to hear comments of Robbie Gould. Sign Robbie Gould. Get him on speed dial because it's going to be nonstop. And until the moment Jake Moody starts just becoming free and making these kicks consistently, we're not going to hear the end of go get Robbie Gould. Go get Robbie Gould. Shah Show says, what do you think doesn't make it from the linebacker? Who do you think doesn't make it from the linebacker group? D. Winters and Jalen Graham have been looking great. Yeah, the rookie linebackers, Jalen Graham, D. Winters, have been phenomenal. I think they make this roster. You can't cut them. If you cut one of those 2 guys, they're getting claimed. They're not going to the practice squad. I honestly think Demetrius Flannigan-Fowles, he's expendable. Cut his ass. I know he's good at special teams, but you can teach Jalen Graham and D. Winters to be a special teamer if you need to initially. I'm telling you, please do not cut those guys if I'm the 49ers. I think that Demetrius Flannigan-Fowles, he gone. He gone. We have to keep Jalen Graham. You see how hard he is? You see how fast he is? We have to keep D. Winters. You see how hard he is? You see how fast he is? Those 2 guys are 2 young and up-and-coming players. Keep those 2. Go get rid of DFF. He's been on this team for several years. He's not a starter. He's a practice squad guy. Go get rid of DFF. That's it. Easy. Easy answer. Demetrius Flannigan-Fowles. Not even a good linebacker. Maybe for another team, not for the 49ers. It's my take. Z says, I don't understand why the Bears haven't gotten gold. Who's their kicker? Don't they have a pretty decent kicker? I don't know. I don't know who their kicker is. I don't follow the Bears. I just know they got a lot of players this offseason. And Justin Fields' hype is through the roof. Let's see. Any other good questions? This is a good chat today. We got a good chat in here today. Shout out to the chat. You guys are the best. Niner faithful. Gotta love you guys. It's Victory Sunday. The 49ers won a game yesterday. Finally. Game 2 preseason. We got one more. And then the games start to count. The games are gonna count in a couple of weeks, in about a month. Maybe less than a month. What we got? 21 days? Sacktown says Trey Lance about to take QB1. I don't think he is, but I think he's definitely proving himself to be QB2. And it's not that I don't think he could be QB1. It's just Kyle Shanahan has already set his ways. There's no arguing that right now. And Brock didn't look horrible in his first start back. But, yeah, he was nice to kind of once he calmed down and he shut the adversity off, man, he was cooking. So it's good to see that from Trey. I think he definitely should get QB2. If anything happens with Brock Purdy, I want to see Trey Lance in there. I think most of the fans would tell you that. Winter and Graham as the next Warner and Greenlaw. I like it. They could be. Biggest surprise and biggest letdown players? A great question. Biggest surprise. Whew. Let's see the biggest surprise. Man, that's a good question. Let's see. The biggest letdown player has been Javon Kinlaw. I mean, he came into camp, looked like he was healthy, looked great. I mean, yesterday he was excused for a personal reason or for an illness. They didn't say why, but that first game he just didn't look overpowering. Hasn't really done much this preseason, and it's always every season he looks great. He's gonna be good. This is the year. I feel let down with him right now. I just expected more. This is your fourth year? Expect something out of you, and he hasn't done anything. I think the expectations continuously every year just are not met by a long shot. It's unfortunate. Biggest surprise. I'm gonna say, man, that's tough. There's so many surprises. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think Jalen Graham surprised me a lot. I didn't think he was gonna be as good as he is right now. I know he was like a late round, 7th round linebacker, and the 49ers do really good at drafting linebackers, but he's better than I ever imagined this guy. I thought D. Winters was going to be really good, right? And we all expected D. Winters to be that guy. I didn't know much about Jalen Graham coming into the draft. I saw a little film. I was like, oh, okay, he looks just like another linebacker the 49ers can coach up, and maybe he'll do good. But Jalen Graham has been pretty damn good. He's probably been better than D. Winters at times. It's amazing. These two guys have been flying all over the ball. So, yeah, Jalen Graham maybe might be the biggest surprising player to me. I was not surprised about Ronnie Bell because I knew he was going to be good. I've been on the Ronnie Bell train. I think the other surprise is how frustrating it's been to see Jake Moody fail because, I mean, there was a lot of hype on this guy, tons of pressure on him. And I get it. There's a lot of pressure on him, but I'm a little surprised that, I mean, his kicks aren't even looking close. Because in training camp, I get it. Practice and training camp are a whole different story. I mean, he looked way different in training camp. So the pressure is really getting to him. And that's the surprise to me, that the pressure in preseason game is so much for this young man. It's unfortunate. But that also explains to me, remember the other day we talked about it, how people have been roasting Brock Purdy, right? Roasting Brock Purdy. Oh, he's throwing interceptions in practice. Practice and the game are so different. There's completely different entities, and you got to realize you have to separate it, because in practice you might look one way, in the game you might look one way, and that's what it's telling you. In practice you might look like the greatest player in the world, practice all-star. When you get to the game, you're trash. So yes, practice is good. You learn how to do things. You develop. You can learn how to make yourself better from mistakes you make. But practice in a game is a way different situation. Yeah, this even the game-winning kick, he shanked it. I was stressed. Sati, I was stressed. Like when he made it, I genuinely was surprised. I was like, oh my God. I was so surprised. We were screaming our heads off when he made that kick because I just couldn't believe. I was stressed. I was so stressed. If I was in my house, I would have been pacing. I was shaking. I was like, this guy's gonna miss this kick. It was a preseason game, and I was so stressed out for this Moody. I was like, I don't know if he's gonna make this. It's a surprise to me. I thought he'd be drilling these things with ease. Almost shanked a game-winning field goal from less than 40 yards. It's not good. Man, oh man, preseason game 1 in the books. There's already so much to talk about. Did you guys see how jacked Deebo Samuel looks? The guy looks amazing shape. I know we've been talking about it. I know he talked about it himself. He wants to be in better shape. He was upset with himself last night, or last year. But holy smoke! And if you really consider Deebo's season last year, I know he missed some games. He still had over 800 yards all-purpose, 600 yards plus receiving, 200 yards plus rushing. 800 yards all-purpose is not bad in the NFL. It's pretty good. He missed some games, but we're comparing him to 2021, and he got all that money. And people, were upset about him. And he came in this offseason and said he was so mad about how he was last year. He didn't prepare. He had 800 yards plus all-purpose. There's a lot of receivers. There's a lot of receivers in this league that wish they had 800 all-purpose yards in a season. They can't. They'll never even touch that. So for Deebo Samuel, I know a lot of people said, "Oh, he was terrible last." Still had a pretty damn good year, a quality year. I'm not gonna lie to you. And now he's just in this amazing shape. It's not just he's muscular and thick. He's fucking skinny. Borderline. This guy looked like a different person. I was like, he is going to be explosive. He's going to have the endurance to just rock out play after play, and that's the biggest difference. His endurance is going to be amazing, and he's the catalyst. Him and CMC back and forth, and then once you've had enough of those two, Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, man, this is gonna be a big year for him. Aziz says, who is fighting in the crowd? Yeah, probably Brock versus Trey fans. That's exactly who I thought. Flood says, yeah, that fight was so bad. I agree. That fight was so bad, Flood, because it was on national TV. It's everywhere. It's viral everywhere, and it makes us look so bad. Niner fans fighting amongst themselves. They've been doing it all off season. You go to, this is my thought on it, and I said this, I think, on Instagram this morning. You're a grown-ass man. You paid for this game. You paid to park. You paid for the food. You paid for all these, fees to go to this game. It's like a car payment. You paid the equivalent of a car payment, maybe a little bit more, right? Between the ticket for the game, the parking, and the food, if you got to pay for all those things, right? And you go there and you're fighting. You're fighting within the same fan base that is cheering for the same team that you're going to pay this money for. It makes no sense to me. It makes absolutely no sense. Why are you going to the games if you're just going to get in a fight with another fan of your same team? I know you were probably drunk. I get it. But still, this is no logic. You paid the price of a nice car payment, and you're going out there to fight, and then you're going to get thrown out of the game. You might not even be back to that game, to that stadium. They might not let them back in that stadium. Is it really worth it? It's so stupid. So stupid. So stupid. Let's see. Do 2 more questions. Who do I got as the top 5 NFC team? Good question. Niners will be on the top 5. You got the Eagles. You got to give them the respect. The Eagles are good. I hate to admit it, but they are. They got a great quarterback, great offensive system, good old line. D-line is strong. They made it stronger. And they're rating NFC champions. So you got to put the Eagles in there. The Niners, obviously, we got the talent. Just got to make sure we can execute a little bit better and stay healthy. I'll put the Cowboys in there. I hate the Cowboys, but I still think they're one of the top 5 NFC teams. Are they elite? No, but they're still a top 5 NFC team. I'll give them that. Let's see. 2 more teams. I'm gonna throw a sleeper in there. I think the Lions are going to be a top 5 NFC team this year. I feel it. I'm on the Lions hype. I mean, Dan Campbell, man, has been a fantastic head coach. He's really injected some youth, some energy into this team. A lot of younger players. Defense is on the rise. They got a fun offense. They got some great players, and Jared Goff is reinventing himself. He knows how to play the game. It took him a little while, but see, that's the thing. Jared Goff, he found the right system, right coach, refreshed his mind, and look at that. He was a good quarterback last year, and that is something that you got to realize in terms of quarterback development. Look at Trey Lance. All right, he's still young, he's still raw, he's still developing. Give him some time. Maybe he can be a really good quarterback in this league. Jared Goff, man, I'm not gonna lie to you, he was a really good quarterback last year. Shout out to Jared Goff. He fixed it up. Just like Alex Smith. When he first came in, he wasn't that guy. But it took him some time. Figured it out. So there's still hope for Trey. I don't think people should be hating on him. And then the last team I'm going to put in that mix, top 5, is the Seattle Seahawks. They're great. Defense is good. They got a good run game. They got a great coach. I hate to admit that. But Pete Carroll, you see Pete Carroll, he's out there doing Cialis commercials, QB1, throwing dimes on the, yo, that was my favorite video of the offseason was Pete Carroll out there slinging the ball, just slinging, throwing dimes. That was funny. So definitely got to put Seattle in there. You definitely got to put Seattle in that mix, man. I hate them, but you can't deny it. They got a good team, and they drafted really well. They drafted so good. They drafted so good, man. They're going to be our toughest competition in the NFC West, no doubt, no doubt. That's going to be a hell of a game. So those are the teams I think those are the top 5 NFC teams. You rank them upon yourself. I don't care about the rankings. Those are your top 5. You rank them how you want. We can debate that all day, but those are the top 5, in my opinion, my humble opinion. Lions, Cowboys, Niners, Eagles, Seahawks. All right? I think those are the top 5. Lawrence says don't sleep on the Falcons. They got talent. They got some potential. I don't think they're top 5 yet, but they got potential. They could be. They could sneak up in there. I like the Falcons. Yeah, Atlanta does. They got lesser talent. They beat us last year. Marcus Mariota out there looking like Michael Vick last year. Looked like Mike Vick. You remember that game? Holy God. Adit says Niners, Seattle back on top of the West. Just like old times, right? Good to see it, man. Those two teams are gonna be. It's gonna be a world war when they play. We play them on Thanksgiving. A little scared about that one. But bird teams, Niners and bird teams. Little bit stressful sometimes. Eagles, Falcons, Seahawks. Except I'm not worried about Arizona this year. I'm gonna go to the Arizona game, the road game. I can't wait. That's gonna be a fun ass game. A road game. I can't wait. I haven't been to a road game in a long time. Since an LA game. I think LA in the playoffs, NFC Championship. 2 years back. That's the last road game I went to. I went to 2 road games that year. I went to 2 playoff games. Dallas and then LA. Didn't go to a road game last year. Yeah. Bird teams on Christmas and Thanksgiving. Yeah. We got the Ravens this year. That's right, on Christmas. I'll be at that one too. These damn bird games. Sati says Niner Hawks back to being the top 2 teams in the division. Back to the Harbaugh Carroll days of the early 2000s. Yeah, it's exactly. I mean, Niners and Seahawks have been kind of dominating this division for a long time. I mean, the Rams, every once in a while, they come in and they do their thing. But for the most part, it's been Niners, Seahawks over the last decade or so. But the Niners need to win that Super Bowl, man. Because the Seahawks, I saw them win a Super Bowl. I've seen the Rams win a Super Bowl in the last 2 decades. Niners had their chances. They need to be the next one in that NFC West. But it starts with the preseason, and one more to go, and then we got a little 2-week break, and then shit gets real. I can't wait. We'll see how the rest of the week goes. The starters are playing. Obviously, we'll talk all about it the rest of the week. But I hope everybody's having a good day, good Sunday, Victory Sunday. Shout out to Trey Lance. Nice game. Nice way to persevere over all the adversity. I was happy for him. So let's see if this team can continue to build off that performance and have a strong game against the Chargers. I'll be at the game. If you're at the game, say what's up and enjoy the rest of your week. You guys have a good rest of your day. I love you. Go Niners. Make sure you hit that like button. subscribe, all that good stuff. Make sure you hit that like button. We gotta keep this YouTube channel going. I love y'all. Have a good night.